السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم ويسر لنا طريق العلم وحسن أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا من واسع حكمتك وعلمنا ما لا نعلم فإنك تعلم ولا نعلم وإنك أنت علام الغيوب يا رب العالمين. Welcome to the first lecture of النبر and straightness of Quranic performance set up by Professor Dr. وليد مقبل الديب. May Allah reward him and his parents. Please note that the lecture is a translation of the Arabic version given by Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali, Hafizahullah. If you would like to watch the Arabic version, please click on the link below. This course is one of the useful and important courses for all Muslims because it brings us back to the performance of the righteous predecessors. This science is concerned with the correct performance of Quranic words among all Muslims. We would like to know about our Honorable Sheikh Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali, the founder of the International Academy of An-Nabr and Straightness of Quranic Performance, who set up for us this knowledge in order to facilitate us so that we can reach the straightness of Quranic performance. Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali holds a master's degree and PhD in grammar, morphology, and prosody. He masters in the 10 authentic qira'at. He is the director of the International Academy of Straightness of Quranic Performance. He discovered the theory of Al-meezan Al-Nabry and straightness of Quranic performance. He has a project to complete, copies of the Qur'an with different narrations, specifying the positions of النبر in every word, which is رواية حفص عن عاصم, رواية شعبة عن عاصم, رواية قالون عن نافع. Also a project to complete, رواية ورش عن نافع, specifying positions of النبر in every word. And all of these qualifications are accredited by Al-Azhar Al-Sharif and by international colleges. This science and these rules have an impact on scientific foundations, according to Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali. This knowledge is taught in universities and is considered as a reference for those who want to work for masters and PhD. There are studies on the theory of Al-meezan Al-Nabry by Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali, including a research that was discussed with a PhD in the Faculty of Arabic Language at Al-Azhar Al-Sharif University, entitled Al-meezan Al-Nabry, a critical analytical study by the researcher Dr. Ahmed Zainuddin. There is a scientific system titled Tuhfatul Arib that narrates the rules of Al-meezan Al-Nabry by Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali for the researcher Mahmoud Allam. Also there is Unshudatul Tifli Labib and the explanation of Al-meezan Al-Nabry by the Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali. Our Sheikh Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali received the straight performance from his father, Sheikh Maqbel, rahimahullah. He was a scholar and specialist in the authentic qira'at, and he taught at the Institute of Recitation in Al-Azhar Al-Sharif in Egypt. And he learned from the great scholars of readings in Egypt. And his father used to correct him and told him to say this and not to say this. He used to correct him without referring to the term stress and nabr. He learned from his father the straight performance as he received it from the scholars verbally, and the straight performance agreed with the modern term that is called stress and nabr. By the way, every college that teaches Arabic in the world must have a curriculum, phonology, and within this curriculum there is a course called stress and nabr. Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali did not come up with it from his mind, but An-Nabr is present and taught in all universities. When he entered Dar al-Ulum at Cairo University and majored in Arabic language, he found in one of the lectures his doctor mentioning examples similar to the examples found in the Qur'an al-Kareem that his father alerted him to, and he learned that there is a term called stress and nabr. From here he began to preoccupy himself with this research, and the subject of his master's thesis was entitled Morphological, Grammatical, and Semantic Effects of the Pronunciation of the Holy Qur'an al-Kareem. Through his research, Professor Dr. وليد Al-Deeb was able to establish simple rules by which the speaker can perform the Qur'an al-Kareem with straight performance. These rules are called Al-meezan Al-Nabry. Rather, the research was developed in PhD and was titled The Role of Morphology and Grammar in Guiding the Stress and Nabr, and Poetry. So he masters the whole language from the Qur'an, poetry and prose through a master's degree in PhD, and some researchers to the promotion to the degree of Associate, the highest scientific degree, بفضل ta'ala. As we know that any master's or PhD dissertation, the researcher must come up with something new that no one has researched before him. He must add something new to science. His master's was about the rules of Al-meezan Al-Nabry. It is combined between Al-riwayah wal-dirayah. Al-riwayah, intoxicated learning the Qur'an verbally from his father. As for Al-dirayah, it is the rules set up by Professor Dr. وليد Al-Deeb. There are master's and PhD dissertations on stress in Arabic language universities in general. Also, An-Nabr in the pronunciation of contemporary Arabic world standards by Dr. Abdul-Rabi' Mahmoud, Dr. Ibrahim Anas, and Dr. Abdul Aziz Allam. They are linguists for Al-Azhar Al-Sharif, rahimahumullah. Also researches the importance of An-Nabr in guiding the semantics, as well as the supersyllabic structure in Arabic phonetic system, intonation and stress. Also, An-Nabr and modern Arabic studies in the Holy Qur'an, a descriptive and critical study, as well as An-Nabr in Arabic discussing the oraticles concept. Also linguistic stress, Arabic language between theory and practice, ancient and modern phonetic stress and idiomatic study. Likewise, An-Nabr al-Murattal by Abdurrahman Sudais, an analytical audio masters. The researcher studied the vocal performance of the Sheikh Abdurrahman Sudais and extracted the position of a vocal stress, as well as stress in the Holy Qur'an al-Kareem. Arabic language, a physical conservative. Arabic language, discriminatory stress. Arabic language in stress and intonation, a functional descriptive study. Also, the linguistic stress. These are studies in various universities in the world. What is the meaning of a scientific study? Some of these researchers are either master's, PhD, or scientific research published in a peer-reviewed journal. What is master's and PhD thesis? It is research effort, supervision approval, convinced validity of the research, discussion of the plan by a specialized committee to approve or reject a study, discussion of the idea by a scientific council committee, then rediscussed by the college board, then presenting the idea to the university council graduate studies. These are all stages that the message goes through. The existence of a nabr in every word in Arabic language and not in certain words is a linguistic axiom. We are not going to disagree about its correct performance of a word throughout the course, regardless of different races and cultures. Why? Because linguistic accuracy is the same for everyone, no matter how dialects affect it. Today, we will talk about an introductory lecture in order to have knowledge of what stress is. Our goals of the first and second lecture. First of all, it is represented in persuading the existence of stress in the language and in the Qur'an al-Kareem, its impact on the Qur'anic performance. and at the same time consolidating the evidence among the trainees in defending the science after learning it. As for the rules, they are so easy that a young child can master them. Even non-Arabic speakers have mastered the science and become trained in it. Today we'll talk about an introductory lecture in order to respond to questions of the slide that are the topics of the lecture. We will find out the answer to all the questions throughout the topics of the lecture, which we will discuss today, bi'idhnillah. The topics of the lecture are An-Nabr definition, the danger of negative effects of misplacing An-Nabr, examples of pitfalls that occur as a result of misplacing An-Nabr, the attitude of the earliest scholars towards An-Nabr, existence of the phenomenon of falsification and distortion in other than the Qur'an is the greatest evidence of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions realizing the correct stress positions. What is An-Nabr? Linguist concept. It is the emergence of one of the syllables of the word so that it is visible in the hearing from the others. What is the meaning of emergence? Emergence means an appearance. It means the letter that bears the harakah, the stress is stronger than the neighboring harakat. We hear it more than others, and likewise a specific tense is longer than others based on the stress of the harakah. Therefore the stress is on harakah, not on the letter. The strength comes from the harakah that is on the letter, whether it is a fatha or dhamma or kasra. An-Nabr is a perceived strength of one or more harakah in each sequence, compared to the neighboring harakat in the same sequence. What does perceived strength mean? It means the speaker perceives it while he utters the word, and the listener recognizes it while he hears the word. Perception is verbal and auditory, so An-Nabr is a perceived strength of one or more harakah in each sequence. What does the sequence mean? A sequence is the number of harakat and sukoons in the word. What means perceived strength? It means if we find a word consisting of two harakat, we must find one of them stronger than the other. And if we find three harakat, we must find one of them stronger than the other two. And if we find four harakat, we must find two harakat stronger. And in another formula, we will find one harakah stronger than the three harakat. How do we realize this strength? We perceive it with neighboring harakat. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. The word أحد, the stress is on harakat al-hamzah because it is stronger. Well, whoever reads it wrong and says أحد, they take the stress from a harakat al-hamzah and place it on harakat al-ha. The correct performance is أحد, meaning oneness, and not أحد, meaning sharpness. Therefore, An-Nabr is a perceived strength. The dangerous negative effects of misplacing An-Nabr, for which we study An-Nabr, which requires to set up a course for it. Although at-tashkeel is correct, and at-tajweed is often correct, but misplacing An-Nabr leads to either violation of the eloquence of performance or corruption in meaning, if its effect exceeds the morphological, grammatical, or semantic level, which means any effect on morphology, syntax, or meaning. For example, he says ثقست instead of ثقست. The incorrect performance affects the meaning, even though at-tashkeel is correct and at-tajweed is correct. ثقست, stressing on حركة القاف, means to solidify. If we stress on حركة الفاء, we say ثقست, meaning to hatch. ثقست is two words, as for ثقست is one word. Al-fa becomes part of the word. An-Nabr is an evidence of the miraculousness of the Qur'an, just as the Qur'an is miraculous in its meaning, miraculous in its rulings, and also miraculous in its performance. The stress An-Nabr is placed on a specific harakah, which leads to the straightness of the word. If we misplace An-Nabr, it will lead to corruption in the meaning. What is the danger of this phenomenon? التشكيل is correct and التجويد is often correct, but misplacing النبر leads to violation of the eloquence of performance or corruption in meaning. Violation of the eloquence of performance. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, القارعة ما القارعة. The word القارعة. Mistakenly, if we stress on حركة العين, we say القارعة. The incorrect performance does not change the meaning of the word. Its morphological, syntax, and its composition are not violated, but the performance of the word is not palatable to the ear. Although this error did not exceed the phonetic level, but in this case it is the least of the negatives. Is there a set of words that we can memorize and memorize the performances that avoid making stress errors? Of course not. An-nabr exists in all the words of Arabic language, in prose, poetry, and in the Qur'an al-Kareem. Even al-huruf al-muqatta'ah. At the beginning of some surahs such as Alif Lam Mim, we say Alif and not Alif. Alif means in the sense of turning, looking around. What is the danger of an-nabr? Professor Dr. وليد says, does an-nabr deserve to be studied and held for it a full course or not? That although the stress occurs in the second breath of the harakah, it is very easy and simple. Today we will show you that there are words that have more than one performance in pronunciation. One way is correct and the other ways are wrong. Let's have some examples for that. These examples, which we'll present now, although they are few, summarize all the rules for us. Professor Dr. Maryam.Elbakali was keen to put every word of every rule. Whoever knows the difference between harakah and a sukoon will learn this science. We start with the word lahum. It is mentioned in the Qur'an more than 1,000 times. We have in the Arabic language two types of lahum. Lahum stressing on حركة اللام and lahum stressing on حركة الهاء. For example, in the Qur'an al-Kareem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَهُمْ دَارُ السَّلَامِ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. The meaning of the verse is, Dar al-Salam has been prepared for them. لَهُمْ stressing on حركة اللام. In syntax, it is a grammatical preposition lam plus a pronoun hum. If we say, لَهُمْ دَارُ السَّلَامِ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, لَهُمْ stressing on حركة الهاء, it is an affirmation lam plus a pronoun hum. The meaning changes to themselves دار السلام, not دار السلام has been prepared for them. The incorrect performance leads to a violation in the morphological, grammatical, and semantic effects. The wrong performance leads to confusing a preposition lam with an affirmation lam. In passing, it became an impecative lam that benefits the affirmation and the meaning changes. It then becomes themselves Dar al-Salam, not Dar al-Salam has been prepared for them. Lahum stressing on حركة اللام means it is for them. If we say lahum stressing on حركة الهاء, it means they are. Therefore, the correct performance is stressing on حركة اللام. We say lahum and not lahum. Lahum daru salam. A preposition lam plus a pronoun hum. We also have two positions in the Qur'an al-Kareem in Surah Al-Saffat. Lahumul mansurun. The meaning of the verse is, they themselves are victorious. Lahumul ghalibun. The meaning is, they themselves are dominant. The stress is on حركة الهاء. Why? Because here it is an affirmation lam plus a pronoun hum. If we say lahumul mansurun, lahum stressing on حركة الlam, it became a preposition lam plus a pronoun hum. The meaning becomes as if victory has been prepared for them. The correct performance is لهم المنصورون and not لهم المنصورون لهم الغالبون and not لهم الغالبون. لهم اسم حركة اللام. The Qur'an is filled with the preposition lam plus a pronoun hum. It occurred in the Qur'an al-Karim in more than 1,000 positions. And لهم اسم حركة الها. There are only 2 positions in the Qur'an al-Karim in Surah Al-Safat. If it is a preposition lam, the straight performance is لهم. If it is an affirmation lam, the straight performance is لهم. Both exist in the Qur'an al-Karim. لهم and لهم. The 2 words calligraphically written in the same way, the same letter and in the same tashkil, but performed in different ways. Why? By placing a nabr in its correct position in order to give the intended meaning of the verse. Passing is a branch of meaning. So can we pronounce لهم like لهم? Of course not. لهم and لهم. The incorrect stress is in 2 words. Let to the conversion. Convert the preposition lam to an inceptive lam, lam al-ibtida, and convert a genitive pronoun to a predicate, mubtada, and vice versa. Convert an inceptive lam to a preposition lam, and a predicate hum to a genitive pronoun. We have another grammar structure of a rule. You must place the stress in the correct position in order to give the correct meaning. Who denies an-nabr? These 2 examples are the biggest proof of the existence of stress and nabr. The 2 words are found in the Qur'an al-Karim. How do we perform it without knowing the correct stress? We give another example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Qiyamah verse 11, كَلَّا لَا وَزَرْ. The meaning of the verse is, no, there is no refuge. A word, wazar. Wazar is 1 word, meaning offense, misdeed. The correct stress is on the first حركة, حركة الواو. If we say wazar, it becomes 2 words, a conjunctive waw plus zar, a verb. We separate the word into 2 words. The incorrect stress leads to separation of the word into 2 words. So it is wazar or wazar. Even if there is a word other than the Qur'an, it is 1 word and not 2 words. We say wazar and not wazar. Each word is placed in the correct position that leads to its meaning. The incorrect stress led to separation in the sense that it made 1 word turn into 2 words. In this case, it is irrelevant, because it does not match the meaning of the verse. The 3rd word, abada. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. The meaning of the verse is, abiding therein forever. This word has 3 performances. Abada, 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 abada. The straight performance, stressing on حركة الهمزة, the first حركة. We do not concern ourselves with the correct stress today. We will learn it بإذن الله تعالى. أبدا, أبدا, أبدا. Is there an indicative difference? Yes. Stressing on the first حركة, which is حركة الهمزة. أبدا, meaning forever. Stressing on the second حركة, حركة الباء. أبدا. It becomes an interrogative hamza plus a verb bada. It means to appear or emerge. If we stress on the 3rd حركة, حركة الدال, we say abada. It leads to a violation of the eloquence of the word on the phonetic level, as well as if we separated الدال from the word. The incorrect performance led to multiplicity. We say abada, abada, abada. Also a word, فَقَعُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. The meaning of the verse is, then fall down to him in prostration. فَقَعُوا شسر حركة القاف is 2 words, a conjunctive fa plus a verb قَعُوا, meaning to fall down. If we say فَقَعُوا, stressing on the first حركة, حركة الفاء, which means pop, crack. The two words turned into one word, and al-fa became part of the word. After it was a conjunctive, and the meaning changed. The impact of the stress on morphology, grammar, and meaning. This word has three pronunciations. ثقعوا, ثقعوا, ثقعوا. Let's start again. لهم, لهم. وزع, وزع. أبدا, أبدا, أبدا. ثقعوا, ثقعوا, ثقعوا. Also we have the word أفلا. This word is made up of three words, and it has three performances. It is an interrogative hamza plus a conjunctive fa plus a negative la. The correct performance is أفلا, stressing on حركة اللام. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت. The meaning of the verse is, then do they not look at the camels, how they are created? If we stress on the first حركة and say أفلا, it becomes one word. It violates the eloquence of the word. If we stress on the second حركة, حركة الفاء, and we say أفلا, it became two words, an interrogative hamza plus فلا. The incorrect stress led to joining the letters, so it became one word. Also, they become two words. Again, أفلا, أفلا, أفلا. We study النبر to know that the word has more than one pronunciation, even though التشكيل is correct, and التشريد is often correct. But misplacing النبر leads to violation of the eloquence of performance, or corruption in meaning. We pay attention. The correct stress is in a different place, and by mastering the slide, we will master the rules of الميزان Al-Nabry as formulas or as performance methods. Also a word, ما, and stressing on the first حركة, حركة الميم, it means water and is one word. If we stress on the second حركة, حركة الهمزة, and we say ما, and it separated al-hamza from al-mim. Also, it affects the meaning. So we can read it as ما, and we can read it like ما, and there is a difference. ما, stressing on the first حركة, حركة الميم, is one word. If we say ما, and stressing on حركة الهمزة, it becomes two words. Also, it affects tajweed rules. ما is من متصل, connected lengthening. As for ما, it becomes مد منفصل, separated lengthening. So, even tajweed rules obtain the effects of the wrong stress. What did the wrong stress lead to? It changed the meaning of the word. It leads to pluralism, separating on the word, and it became two words. And it also affected the tajweed rules. After it was a connected lengthening, it became a separated lengthening. Also a word, أولى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ آمِنُوا أَوْ لَا تُؤْمِنُوا. The meaning of the verse is, say, believe in it or do not believe. It means your faith or not. This word has two different pronunciation performances. أولى is two words, which means do not. You can read it as أولى, as one word, meaning the best. As well, we have in the Qur'an al-Karim, أولى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أولى لك فأولى. The meaning of the verse is, woe to you and woe. It means we have both words in the Qur'an al-Karim. Say both of them are correct, but we must not confuse them. How? By placing stress in the correct position in order to give us the correct meaning of each word and each verse in the Qur'an al-Karim. Again, أولى, أولى. Each stress, it gives different meanings. The last example, رزقهم. This word has four ways to perform. One way is correct and others are incorrect, according to different dialects. التشكيل is the same, but the performance differs according to the stress. and each performance differs from the next. We say رزقهم 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 رزقهم. When we learn the correct and incorrect, we can come in all ways. And we also know where is the error, and we can also differentiate when we hear the right and wrong. Likewise, the correct and incorrect have rules, because as we can see now, the word has more than one performance. Although the word is the same with the same letter, and tashkil is the same, and yet in every position it is pronounced in different ways. So we need to know how to pronounce it correctly and give us the correct meaning of the verse. We must know how to perform. We read the words again. لهم لهم وزر وزر أبدا 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 فقعوا 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 أفلا 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 ماء ماء أولى أولى رزقهم 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 رزقهم. Examples of pitfalls that occur as a result of misplacing an-nabr. We go to a set of examples to show the seriousness of the phenomenon of an-nabr. Misplacing an-nabr may lead to corruption at all levels of the language, morphology, grammar, and semantics, or at least a violation of the eloquence of performance, and the two are rejected in the recitation of the Qur'an al-Kareem. We want to reassure you, do not concern yourself with knowing an-nabr rules today. Insha'Allah, as you will receive it with ease. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Let's have some examples. We tried to get deeper in the meaning of verses in this situation with correct and incorrect performance. We start with the first example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَهُمْ لَا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. The meaning of the verse is, but the information will be unapparent to them that day, so they will not be able to ask one another. فهم شسر حركة الهاء means so they. فهم شسر حركة الهاء. فهم شسر حركة الفاء. What is the difference? فهم شسر حركة الهاء is two words, a conjunctive fa plus a pronoun hum. But فهم شسر حركة الفاء, it became one word. It became a past tense indicating an exaggeration of understanding. So here the incorrect performance, the meaning has changed. It becomes one word instead of two words. After it was fahum, a conjunctive fa plus a pronoun hum. It became fahum, a past tense verb. The incorrect performance affected the meaning and the general form of the word, and it is irrelevant to the meaning of the verse. So the correct performance is fahum and not fahum. The next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال رب إني وهن العظم مني. The meaning of the verse is, Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam prayed, My Lord, indeed my bones have weakened. The word wahana, stressing on the first haraka, harakatil waw, is one word, meaning to weaken. A past tense verb. If we stress on the second haraka, harakatil ha, and we say wahana, what will happen? The incorrect performance leads to separate the word into two, and it becomes a conjunctive waw plus hana, a name of a person. Wahana, as if we added an alif on the noun hana. As a result of misplacing an-nabr, a mid vowel was added and omitted in the pronunciation to prevent the meeting of two sukoons. Likewise, after the word was a verb, it became a noun, and it turned into two words after it was one word. The correct performance is wahana and not wahana. The next verse is فَمَن يَأْتِيكُم بِمَاءٍ مَّعِينٍ. The meaning of the verse is, then who could bring you flowing water? The word مَاءٍ means water, and it is one word, and it is a noun. If we say مَاءٍ, By stressing on the second حركة, it becomes two words. By misplacing النبر, we separate the word into two. Also, it affects tajweed rules. The straight performance stressing on the first حركة, we say ما. In tajweed rules, it is a connected lengthening من متصل. As for ما in, it became separated lengthening مد منفصل. So what is affected here? The incorrect performance affected the meaning of the word as well as a tajweed. Misplacing النبر violates all levels of the Arabic language as well as tajweed rules. The correct performance بماء and not بماء. The last verse of the slide, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِتُنذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أَتَاهُم مِّن نَذِيرٍ. The meaning of the verse is, the speeches for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. O Muhammad, that you may warn a people to whom no warner has come before you, so perhaps they will be guided. The word أتاهم, the correct performance stressing on the second حركة, حركة التاء. It indicates that the word has not ended yet. The pronoun hum is linked to the word, which means this portent came to those people referred to by the pronoun hum. The incorrect performance if we say أتاهم. The pronoun separated from the word. It became two words, and the object pronoun turns into the personal pronoun. What is the difference? The difference is the pronoun hum was connected to the word and became separated. The incorrect performance is contrary to the calligraphy script of the Qur'an Kareem. The correct performance is أتاهم. It means this portent came to them. The incorrect performance is أتاهم. The meaning is as if it is they are the ones who came. Therefore, the objective pronoun transformed into a subjective pronoun. Grammatically, it is incorrect. The correct performance أتاهم. The incorrect performance is أتاهم. The second slide. We show the danger of the stress phenomenon if it is placed in the wrong place. If we misplace النبر, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, في جيدها حبل من مسد. The meaning of the verse is, around her neck is a rope of twisted fiber. The word مسد is one word, stressing on the first حركة, حركة الميم. It means fiber, and a single static dal with a qalqalah. If we stress on the second حركة, حركة السين, and we say مسد, we separated the word into two words, and الدال became مشددة, the highest rank of qalqalah. مسد means to block. To block something means to close it. The incorrect performance affects the meaning and tajweed rules. Here the meaning has changed in morphology, syntax and meaning, as well as tajweed rules. After الدال was static and has a lesser qalqalah, it became the highest level of al-qalqalah. The correct performance, مسد and not مسد. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, من يهد الله فهو المهتد. The meaning of the verse is, and whoever Allah guides, he is the rightly guided. The word al-muhtad means the rightly guided. By stressing on حركة الميم of the word, the rank of al-qalqalah on al-dal is respected. But if we stress on حركة التاء and say al-muhtad, it changed the meaning into who destroyed himself. The incorrect stress here also affected the meaning and tajweed rules. After it was a lesser qalqalah, it became a greater qalqalah, meaning the highest level of al-qalqalah. That the rank of al-qalqalah has changed. The correct performance, al-muhtad, means the rightly guided. The incorrect performance, al-muhtad, means who demolished himself. The correct performance, al-muhtad, and not al-muhtad. The next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, كَلَّا لَا وَزَرْ. We have mentioned this word a while ago. The correct performance is وَزَرْ. Stressing on حركة الواو is one word. The incorrect performance, stressing on حركة زي وزار. It became two words, a conjunctive word plus a verb, زار. The next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ثُمَّ قَضَى أَجَلًا. The meaning of the verse is, and then decreed a term and a specific time to him. A word, أَجَلًا, means a term or a period of time. It is one word. The correct stress is on the first حركة, حركة الهمزة. If we say أَجَلًا, stressing on the second حركة, حركة الجيم, we separated the word into two. It becomes an interrogative hamzah plus a verb, jala, meaning to appear. The incorrect stress leads to an irrelevant meaning of the verse. Again, ajala and not ajala. The third slide. We are still explaining the dangerous negative effects that occur as a result of misplacing an-nabr, stress. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا أُحِلَّ لَهُمْ. The meaning of the verse is, they ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what has been made lawful for them as food. The word ماذا, stressing on the first حركة, حركة الميم, is one word. It is an interrogative noun. ماذا, meaning what. The incorrect performance, if we stress on the second حركة, حركة الذال, and we say ماذا, what will happen? We separate the word into two words. It became an interrogative ma, or a negative ma, plus a demonstrative noun, there. It has nothing to do with the meaning of the verse. The correct meaning is, what has been made lawful for them. The incorrect meaning is, what has not been made lawful for them. So misplacing an-nabr leads to corruption in meaning, as well as morphology and syntax. So the correct performance is, ماذا, and not ماذا. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَآتُوهُم مِّن مَّالِ اللَّهِ. The meaning of the verse is, and give them something yourselves out of the wealth of Allah, which He has bestowed upon you. The word مالي, stressing on حركة الميم, is one word. The meme is connected to the lam, as a lam is part of the word, which means wealth or money. The incorrect performance, ما لله. If we stress on the second حركة, حركة اللام, a lam separated from the first word and connected to the second word, it became a preposition lam, connected to the name of Allah Almighty. And ma from the first word, it becomes a relative pronoun, meaning الذي. Here, with the incorrect performance, we separated a letter from the first word and connected it to the following word. The correct performance is مِمَّا لِلَّهِ and not مِمَّا لِلَّهِ. The correct performance, it gives the intended meaning of the verse. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذَانِ يَأْتِيَانِهَا مِنكُمْ فَآذُوهُمَا. The meaning of the verse is, and the two who commit it among you, dishonor them both. The correct performance of the word is يَأْتِيَانِهَا, stressing on حركة النون, is one word, and the objective pronoun is connected to the word, which means it is part of the word. يَأْتِيَانِهَا means they come to her. The incorrect performance, if we stress on حركة الها and we say يَأْتِيَانِهَا, here we separated the pronoun from the word, and it became her, an independent word, a noun, as if it is they come with somebody called her. Here, the incorrect performance is contrary to the calligraphy scripts of the Qur'an al-Kareem. Also, the meaning has changed. It is irrelevant to the meaning of the verse. Again, يَأْتِيَانِهَا and not يَأْتِيَانِهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَالَ اللَّهُ لَا تَتَّخِذُوا إِلَٰهَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. The meaning of the verse is, and Allah has said, do not take for yourselves two deeds. He is but one God, Allah is only one. So fear only me, Allah. The word إِلَٰهَيْنِ is one word. It is plural. Stressing on حركة اللام, It gives a signal that the word has not finished yet. The incorrect performance إلهين, stressing on the first حركة, حركة الهمزة, it separates the word and it indicates that the word has ended, and it becomes two words, a preposition إلى plus هيني. The incorrect performance has nothing to do with the meaning of the verse. It led to a separation of the word by misplacing النبر, as well as corruption in meaning. The performance pitfalls that occur as a result of misplacing the stress النبر. Again, إلهين and not إلهين. The last slide. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, كَذَلِكَ يُرِيهِمُ اللَّهُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ. The meaning of the verse is, thus Allah will show them their deeds as regrets for them. A word, يُرِيهِمُ, stressing on a حركة الراء, is one word. It is a singular verb, and the adjective pronoun is connected to the word. As for the incorrect performance, يُرِيهِمُ, it leads to an additional mid-vowel not in the Qur'an Al-Kareem, and it becomes plural. The formation of the word has changed from the singular to the plural. The correct performance is يُرِيهِمُ اللَّهُ and not يُرِيهِمُ اللَّهُ. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْيَوْمَ مَنِ اسْتَعْلَى. The meaning of the verse is, and he has succeeded today, he overcomes, and whoever overcomes this day will be indeed successful. The word أفلح, stressing on حركة الهمزة, means have succeeded. It is a single verb. If we stress on حركة اللام, we say أفلح اليوم. What happened when I misplaced the النبر? It generates an additional mid vowel not in the Qur'an Al-Kareem that is omitted to prevent the meeting of two sukoons. It becomes plural, مثنى. The formation of the word has changed from the singular to plural, as well as the meaning. The meaning is that he has succeeded, not they have succeeded. Again, the correct performance is أفلح اليوم and not أفلح اليوم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا جَاءَكَ الَّذِي. The meaning of the verse is, and when those who come to you who believes in our verses. The word جاءك, the correct performance stressing on حركة الهمزة, is one word. A possessive pronoun كاف is connected to the word. جاءك means they come to you. If we say جاءك الذي, stressing on حركة الكاف, what will happen? Al-kaf separated from the first word and linked to the second word. This became as if it is a simile kaf, and the function of the word changed, meaning it will change from those come to you to those come looks like the believers. The correct performance, جاءك الذين, and not جاءك الذين. The last verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورُ. The meaning of the verse is, and few of my servants are grateful. The word عبادية, stressing on حركة الدال, is one word, and a possessive pronoun which is الياء المتكلم is connected to the word, meaning my servant. If we say عبادي الشكور, what happened here? The possessive pronoun ياء المتكلم separated from the first word and linked to the second word, and it turns from a possessive pronoun ياء المتكلم to the interjection ياء النداء عبادي الشكور, stressing on حركة الياء, as if we call out something called الشكور. So the correct performance عبادي الشكور and not عبادي الشكور. We must pay attention to how we pronounce the words in a straight performance, so that gives the intended meaning of the words or verses, so the meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. The importance of the nabr in the Qur'an and the language, especially when we are reciting the Qur'an, we must place the stress in the correct position to give the word its splendor and spirit, and we can reflect on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. We are required to perform the Qur'an as the Prophet ﷺ performed it. As for misplacing an nabr leads to corruption in all language levels, phonetics, pronunciation, which is in the introduction, and corruption in morphology, grammar, or meaning. The attitude of earlier scholars towards النبر, الفتح الرباني. Explaining the poem رائية الخاقاني by the author الإمام أبي مزاحم موسى بن خاقان الخاقاني, passed away 325 Hijriya. This is the first poetic verse in the science performance that came to us in the Islamic history of Al-Imam Al-Khaqani. He calls out to the Quranic reciter and asks him to improve his performance. So the scholars knew that there is such a performance, and that this performance may be straight or deviant. Not everyone who recites the Qur'an recites it in a straight manner. أيا قارئ القرآن أحسن أداءه يضاعف لك الله الجزيل من الأجر فما كل من يتلو الكتاب يقيمه ولا كل من في الناس يقرئه مقري فقد قلت في حسن الأداء قصيدة رجوت إلهي أن يحط بها وزري فإن أنت حققت القراءة فاحذري الزيادة فيها واسأل العون ذا القهر زن الحرف لا تخرجه عن حد وزنه فوزن حروف الذكر من أفضل البر وخفف وثقل واشرب الفك مذ أتى ولا تفرطا في الفتح والضم والكسر وما كان مهموزا فكن هامزا له ولا تهمزا ما كان لحنا لدى النبري. He intended to compose this poem in correct performance, as scholars were interested in correct performance in addition to tajweed rules. He warned not to add or subtract a letter, not in the Qur'an al-Kareem. The one who said ahad added a letter. He explicitly required for the existence of Al-meezan Al-Nabry, which preserves its way of articulation, its characteristics, and preserves its correct performance, including Al-Nabr. He warned that we do not give a shadda to a static letter, and vice versa, meaning we do not increase in the vowels, and this excess is Al-Nabr, because Al-Nabr is a strength in the harokah, so it makes the stressed harokah stronger than the neighboring harokat. The last verse means it is not meant by the stress that we are studying, but what is meant by it is letter hamza, which we do not make easy. He speaks to the people of his time with this hadith. So, what about us now, after the tongues have been corrupted more? He talks about the readers. An-Nabr's authenticity, from warning of obvious errors and hidden errors, by the author Al-Imam Abi Hassan Ali ibn Ja'far ibn Uthman al-Razi al-Sa'idi, passed away 400 to 410 Hijriya. Fathat al-Ya preceded by Kasra. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا شية فيها ودية مسلمة الغاشية الأيام الخالية خافية ماهية نار حامية. The vowel letter that precedes this ya should be slightly misappropriated, and the kasra should not be saturated, so it becomes in the pronunciation double ya. If you saturate it, you will say لاشية ولية حامية. You pronounce a static ya followed by fathat ya, and this is not permissible according to the performance scholars. It is necessary to give kasra to the letter that precedes the ya, and resemble them to the extent of the kasra in ayn in ida, and zay in zina, and sad in sila, and what is similar to it and differentiates between the misappropriated and the saturated in the pronunciation. Fathat al-waw preceded by dhamma. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هو الذي قل هو الله أحد لهو خير الرازقين إنه هو السميع العليم. The dhamma precedes this waw, and what is similar should be misappropriated, not saturated, and it should not be exceeded in pronunciation, so it goes away from the misappropriation limit to saturation. If the preceded dhamma is saturated, it becomes in the pronunciation double waw. The first one is static and the second one has fatha, as if it is said, هو الذي قل هو الله أحد لهو خير الرازقين. النبر's authenticity from الرعاية to improve reading and achieve accurateness of recitation, knowing the order of letters, the point of articulation, their qualities and titles, the interpretation of their meanings, their explanations, and the clarification of the vowels that necessitate them, by the author Al-Imam Abi Muhammad Makki bin Abi Talib Al-Qisi, passed away 437 Hijriya. Stopping on letters with shadda. The author mentioned in his book, to be stopped on the letter with shadda, it is difficult for the tongue due to the presence of two static letters together, and it is not separated in the cessation as if it were a single letter. It is necessary to pronounce tashdid as a cessation in the words and appears to be heard, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ في يوم نحس مستمر من طرف خفي أدها وأمر. It is similar to it, so that it requires to stop on the letter with a perfect tashdid, with two sukoons not separated. The attitude of earlier scholars towards An-Nabr, from Al-Muwaddah in Tajweed, by the author Al-Imam Abdul Wahhab bin Muhammad Al-Qurtubi, passed away 461 Hijriya. Al-Muwaddah in Tajweed. The author mentioned in his book, as I saw the young people reading this time, and many of their terminators neglected their idioms due to the impurity of hidden errors, and they neglected to purify it from its impurity until the tongue became flexible on corruption, and their character accepted it, and it became a habit for them. Rather, the instinct took hold of them, and they suited their time, which inflected its children with its foolishness, and above them turned its blame and its evil. The greedy despairs of reforming them, and gave up in educating and guiding them, and it is neither hearsay nor surprising. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, said, people of their time are more like their fathers than they are due to the excessive need for the benefit. To write an article that make them aware of the arrogance and guarantees a skillful purpose, and it ignites the willing hope and accompanies the word masters. I mention in the meaning of language, melody, position alone, its reality in custom and placement, the reason for which it's commented on the tongues and spread in the speech of the Arabs. I explain what is meant by announcing by warning against it, also what is the benefit obtained. Third part, talking about harakat and sukoon. We will refer to you from the misappropriated and saturated positions in the Qur'an. What achieves your desire and fulfills your warning. What is meant here by misappropriated and saturated is narrative and language. But what is meant is mainstay in every utterance and required in every tongue, and Allah helps us to reach the truth in it. Third part, talking about harakat and sukoon. Fathat al-kaf from إياك. You should hasten to pronounce it after al-alif, and do not stop on it, so it becomes sufficient and stretched. And between Fathat al-Waw followed by Ad-Dal, with Ad-Dhamma with Na'budu, because al-Waw is a hidden letter, unless a statement is an intended Fatha. Fathat al-Ya preceded by Kasra. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا شية فيها ودية مسلمة الغاشية الأيام الخالية قافية ماهية نار حامية. The vowel letter that precedes this ya should be slightly misappropriated, and the kasra should not be saturated, so it becomes in the pronunciation double ya. If you saturate it, as if to say shiyah and hamiyah, as if we come with a static ya followed by ya with fatha, and that is not satisfactory. Rather, the kasra should be misappropriated in ayn fi idah, and zay fi zinah, and sad fi salah. Third part, talking about harakat and sukoon. What we have presented of Allah Almighty saying, La shiyah, hawiyah, wahiyah, what is similar to that should avoid excessive saturation, fathat ya, even if it is a hidden letter, especially in the cessation, as if it is a point of relaxation, an exhaustion of the voice. You often see recitation in this tense. If they stop on it, they saturate al-fatha and strengthen it until it becomes alif. Narun hamiyah, mahiyah. Based on this, it measures all the harakats that appear on the letters that precedes the end of the word. Al-abtar, al-samad, al-balad, and what is similar to it, and the ruling on it is clear and does not differ. Third part, talking about harakat and sukoon. If it is followed by a letter that has a shadda, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya صاحبي السجن, reducing or attenuate kasrat al-ya from tashdid as-sin. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, من ثلثي الليل بين يدي الله. النبر's authenticity from زلة القارئ by the author Al-Imam Abi Ali bin Muhammad bin Abdul Karim bin Musa al-Bazdawi, passed away 493 Hijriya. Connecting the last letter of a word to the next word. The author mentioned in his book, if we link the letter from one word to another by reciting إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, then al-kaf linked with the noon, or he recites غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ, and connecting al-ba with al-ayn, and what is similar. Some scholars said that his prayer is invalidated due to changing the meaning, and the speech is absent and is out of being in the Qur'an, but the majority of the scholars among the jurists said that his prayer should not be invalidated, because this is something that cannot be guarded against, and whoever recites إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ alone is an obscene speech, but upon connection there is nothing wrong with it. Likewise, he is the one we mentioned, and some of them said it is possible to guard against it. The correct view is that it does not necessitate invalidating the prayer, because it is impossible to guard against it when there is a connection. And if he gives al-kaf a shadda from إِيَّاكَ and linked it with نَعْبُدُ, his prayer is unanimously invalidated. Likewise, if he recites وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ with al-kaf mushaddada, because there is no need to include a tashdid on it, and it is a gross mistake that can be avoided, and his prayer will be spoiled, and Allah knows best. Existence of the phenomenon of falsification and distortion in other than the Qur'an is a great evidence of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions realizing the correct stress positions. Example, the poet's words have been distorted. The correct performance: كأن في ريقته لما ابتسم بلقاءة في الخيل عن طفل متيم. The incorrect performance: كأن في ريقته لما ابتسم بلقاءة في الخيل عن طفل متيم. The verse was written in an incorrect way. The difference is in nabr. The letters are the same and التشكيل is the same. The correct performance بلقاءة في. The incorrect performance بلقاءة في. Adaء is separated from the second word and connected to the first word. It becomes part of the first word, so it becomes بلقاءة plus a preposition في. So, if the Qur'an was read in this manner, and it was written at the beginning of its writing in a wrong performance, we would find errors in the Qur'an, and this did not exist. So the scholars paid attention to the correct performance and did not fall into these performance pitfalls. Therefore, we are required not to fall into these performance pitfalls. Misplaced al-nabr is one of the means of some Sufis to distort the meaning of the Qur'an. The 78th category, in knowing the terms and etiquette of Shaykh al-Islam Siraj ad-Din al-Balqini, was asked about a man who said in the ayah, من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. That means من ذل is humiliation. يشفع, recovery. The reference to self. عو, matter of consciousness. And he declared a fatwa that he was an atheist. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إن الذين يلحدون في آياتنا لا يخفون علينا. The meaning of the verse is, indeed, those who inject deviation into our verses are not concealed from us. Ibn Abbas said, it is to misplace the words, narrated by Ibn Abi Hatim. This is the end of the first lecture, and inshallah we will see you next week with Al-Nabr and Al-Lahan. I hope you have enjoyed and benefited from this lecture. Thank you for your kind attendance. See you in the next lecture inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.